Right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's BIMA Masterclass, Colour as Your Brand's Emotional Driver. Today, we're joined with Emma Potter, who is Brand Marketing and Communication Strategist. This is a webinar, so we can't see you or hear you, but if you have any questions or anything, you can just put them in the chat box or the Q&A box. So Emma, I'll just hand over to you if that's okay.
Great, thank you. So hi everyone, I'm Emma Potter. I'd like to welcome you and thank you for joining the BIMA Masterclass. Today we are going to talk about colour as your brand's emotional driver. So I'm here today to walk and talk you through an immersive experiential journey into the world of colour and behavioural colour psychology, and how your brand and business can embrace colour to stand out, connect and communicate with your ideal audience. Technology and AI are incredible tools to create efficiencies and give us back time. AI is great for customization and automation, but it doesn't feel. It's not intuitive. AI can make colour theory more digestible, but it can't imagine and it can only react. With the mass adoption of platforms that do and dial up our thinking for us, how can we tap into our innate, authentic intelligence? How can we utilise the time gifted back to us by technology to dial up our emotional intelligence, building our soft skills to create stronger relationships, human to human? So today we're going to explore the relationship with colour and how we relate to colour consciously, unconsciously, and how we can build on the language of colour. So as a brand strategist, I'm passionate about creativity, connection and communication. And my journey with colour started many decades ago. The first book on the left, Colour Therapy, I discovered in my early teens. And for me, it was a real page turner and gave me a real insight into how colour is used in marketing and advertising. In the last decade, the book that's really influenced me is The Little Book of Colour. It's authored by Karen Huller, who's a leading applied behavioural colour specialist, and I've studied with her through the lens of brand and through the lens of artist. And latterly, Your Brain on Art. This is a book that talks about how art and colour transforms us. The book goes into the science behind colour, arts and creativity. The book has opened my eyes further to see colour not only as a language, but as a science, a technology. The author is Susan Magsman, who's the founder and director of International Arts and Mind Labs, the Centre of Applied Neuroaesthetics at Johns Hopkins University, and also the co-director of the NeuroArts Blueprint, recently founded in the US. Co-authored by Ivy Moss, who is the VP of Design and Hardware Product at Google. She is recognised 9th in the Fast Company's Most Creative People in Business in 2019, and believes that the intersection of colour, art and science is where the most engaging creative ideas are found. What's really interesting in this book is they ran an experiment with nearly 400,000 people across 170 countries, and they gathered in Milan. In 2019, Google Hardware created an exhibition for the public to experience neuroaesthetics in colour. Ivy, who understands the power of colour, material, shape and sound, worked with Susan to develop the neuroaesthetic principles that would ground their exhibition. There was 3 rooms termed essential, vital and transformational, creating an immersive installation that demonstrated our body's responses to colours, sensory environments. And they were the first to attempt such a large-scale analysis of these biomarkers. But you might be wondering why I mention this. When guests came into the exhibition, they were given a wristband that Google Hardware had designed to measure psychological response, being heart rate, respiration and temperature and alike. They were invited into the space to be, just relax and be. On seeing their data post the experiment, where many were surprised to see that there was a disconnect between their biology and the room they believed they would feel most calm. Emotions are processed in the limbic system of our brain and are not always consciously registered, which explains why, in some instances, our conscious ideas and indirect conflict with our biological truth, meaning the data conflicted with how many people thought they'd react in an immersive experience. In short, our brains can trick us between our conscious and unconscious minds. I believe that the future is human to human and tech enabled. I combine left brain thinking, which is facts, figures, and data, with intuitive creativity to the right brain, which is linked to feeling, emotion, imagination, and storytelling. This is where the magic happens, particularly with brands we know and love. In a world increasingly driven by AI and technology, our greatest advantage is being human. And now more than ever is the time to lead with emotion, intelligence, creativity, and connection. I'm a strong advocate for embracing the power of AI and digital tools to streamline, scale, and save time. But we must make time for our innate, authentic intelligence. That's where we build authentic relationships. And that for me is where colour plays a particularly strong part in influencing our behaviour and our minds. Those three columns on the page we have here, marketing, 20 years experience, and I've studied with the IDM as a coach to bring in that human-led, authentic piece, is really to bring in how we can connect better on a human-to-human level, and studying with Karen as a colour consultant. It's combining these three specialist areas that is my unique USP. So why are we talking about colour, and why is colour so important? As you can probably tell, I've been passionate about colour for decades. I've written on the subject numerous times, so do feel free to follow in and join the conversation in my Colourful Conversations insights. But for me, what the most standout thing is that 62 to 90% of decision making is based on colour alone. That means colour increases brand recognition by 80%. Colour also influences how we think, feel, and behave. And colour is an integral part of brand recognition. Which brings me nicely onto the quote from Steve Jobs, that our brand is the single most important investment you can make in your business. So Lucy, if you can play the video for the Operation No More Grey, please.
Yep.
Grey, the car maker's favorite color. We all do it. Germans, Japanese, French. But hey, this is Italy. And look, Italy's joy, optimism, love, passion, life. So let me ask you, what's the color of life? What's the color of joy, of passion? Well, it's definitely not grey. Here's a question. Does the world need another grey car? Nope, it doesn't. The world needs more color, more joy, more Italy. So, time to change the rules. From today, at Fiat, no more grey.
Yeah, it's back on you now.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so for Fiat, the brand of colour. In June 2023, Fiat announced that it will no longer offer grey cars as it wants to make our lives more colourful. Fiat, the Operation No More Grey campaign, was a part of the narrative and storyline told by CEO. Oh, excuse me, sorry, 1 second. Sorry, is everyone okay there? Okay, so just to recap, in June 23, Fiat announced that it will no longer offer grey cars as it wants to make our lives more colourful. Fiat Operation No More Grey is a key part of the narrative and storyline told by CEO Olivier François. It's based on joy, optimism, love, passion, and told through the joy of colour. He said, "The world doesn't need another grey car, so let's change the rules, positioning Italy as the land of colours and Fiat the brand of colours. It's clear that Fiat wants the absence of grey to become a distinctive feature of Fiat's cars in the automotive market. Therefore, from June 23, Fiat has no longer produced grey cars." The stunt took place in Italy during the summer solstice, June 21st, 23. But in 2011, The Guardian published an article titled, "Why Has Everything Gone Grey?" And let's face it, grey has dominated many areas of our lives, from interior design to fashion and the clothes we wear to the cars we drive. I wonder if this new championed direction to celebrate colour and the psychological attributes of colour is a response to the challenges we have all faced in recent years. Perhaps it's a global response and a desire to collectively feel more joyful, happy, optimistic, and positive as we flow into the coming years. Some facts that you might be interested to know about grey from a psychological standpoint is that grey is a natural and achromatic colour, meaning literally that it is without colour. It can be composed from black and white. The first recorded use of grey as a colour name in the English language was in 700 CE. In military uniform, soldiers commonly wore grey to be less visible. And the German army even chose a colour called field grey specifically to be less visible at a distance. In the 1930s, grey became a symbol of industrialisation and war, and grey is rarely used by political parties as it's commonly associated with conformity, boredom, and indecision. In design, grey is often used in fonts, headers, and appeals to the mass audience. And grey is a type of camouflage. It conceals, it hides, it doesn't want to be seen. It wants to blend in with its surrounding and not stand out. If you think of battleships on the water, they're hidden in plain sight. Which makes me think, why does the automotive industry insist on producing grey cars with so many negative traits and with an objective to blend in? So an invitation for you now is to think about how you relate or feel about the colour grey. If you can caption that now, and we'll come back to it later. And then we've got the second campaign that I want to touch on, which is Barbie. So Lucy, if you can play.
Yep.
Hey, Barbie. Can I come to your house tonight?
Sure. I don't have anything big planned, just a giant blowout party with all the Barbies and planned choreography and a bespoke song. You should stop by.
So cool.
You can find me under the lights, diamonds under my eyes.
This is the best day ever.
It is the best day ever. So is yesterday, and so is tomorrow, and every day from now until forever. You guys ever think about dying?
When my heart breaks,
some things have been happening that might be related.
When my world shakes.
Cold shower, falling off my roof, and my heels are on the ground. What do I have to do?
You have to go to the real world. You can go back to your regular life, or you can know the truth about the universe. The choice is now yours.
The first one, the high heel.
You have to want to know, okay? Do it again.
Closer I am to find. Closer I am to find.
I'm coming with you.
Okay.
Wow, this is the real world. What's going on? Why are these men looking at me?
Yeah, they're also staring at me.
Barbie in the real world. That's impossible.
If this got out, this could mean extremely weird things for our world. This would be catastrophic!
We haven't played with Barbie since we were like 5 years old. Oh.
No one rests until this doll is back in a box.
Even if nobody else sings along.
Humans only have one ending.
Get that Barbie!
Ideas live forever.
No, I won't let you do just one appendectomy.
But I'm a man.
But not a doctor.
Can I talk to a doctor?
You are talking to a doctor.
And I need a clicky pen?
No.
A sharp thing?
No.
There he is. Doctor!
Somebody get security.
It's Barbie if you still in doubt.
It's back to you now, Emma.
Okay, just 1 second. Sorry, Lucy, can you share my screen?
Sorry, show your screen. The slides.
Yeah, please. Reshare.
Yeah. Sorry, it's taking a while. Can you not share your screen?
For some reason, the option's not come up like it did before.
That's fine. I'm just on the Barbie one. So just let me know when you need me to change slides.
Okay, if you can move on to the next slide, please.
Yep.
So talking of the colour pink, sorry, if you can just stay with the Barbie one for the moment.
Mhm.
So Barbie is an American fantasy comedy from 2023, directed by Greta Gerwig. The movie features Margot Robbie as Barbie and Ryan Gosling as Ken, heavily features the colour pink. As part of the creative process, they created over 100 pinks from salmon pink to dark purple pink. During that time, they discovered the sweet spot that defined their unique, hugely pink colour palette for the movie. Working with Roscoe, a company who specialises in products for the entertainment industry, they ordered 200 litres of pink, reportedly causing a global shortage of the pink paint. What's interesting is that Barbie was filmed in a UK film studio in winter in Watford in northwest London. But director Greta Gerwig said the film set was often dark and mysterious. However, a film set is often dark and mysterious, but that Barbie was different. She talked about how influential light and colour was on the set, saying that as you walked in, you felt this amazing breath of colour and light. And it was really a therapy. It just glowed and it pulled everyone in, making everyone feel really joyful. So I'd invite you here is to think about what colour makes you feel happy and brings you joy. If you can caption that, and we'll come back to that later. So next slide. So talking of colour and the colour pink, for almost 10 years, there's been a colour feud between two artists. This is how divisive colour can be. Back in 2016, artist Anish Kapoor secured the exclusive rights to Venta Black. It is said to be the darkest colour on Earth, almost as dark as the black hole. The move caused outrage in the art world, with many questioning whether anyone should have sole ownership of something so groundbreaking. Soon then entered British artist Stuart Semple, who decided to fight back with humour. He created his own pigments, including the brilliantly named Pinkest Pink, which you can see in the middle of the screen there, and made it available to everyone on one condition: it was not available to Anish Kapoor. Buyers even had to tick a box confirming they weren't going to give Kapoor the paint or even help him sneak it through. But Kapoor managed to get hold of it anyway. And in that image on the right, that is his middle finger dipped in that colour. So how we relate to colour. So colour is a power which directly influences the soul. And we relate to colour in three ways: personally, culturally, and psychologically. It's also good to understand how we relate to colour, as it's sometimes the colours we resist that are actually good for us. Trends in colours are influenced by multiple factors, from science, intuition, inspiration, social trends, and customer preferences, to societal, technological, economical, cultural, and political narratives. To demonstrate, I've chosen the colour green. Personally, this makes me think of my school uniform, and that is me and my brother in the picture with my green blazer, green socks, and green checked uniform. But this is how I relate to green personally. So we are feeling creatures that think, not thinking creatures that feel. Colour is a language that influences our emotions and how we feel and how we behave. Which leads me on to the second way we relate to colour is culturally. And for me, staying with the colour green, green makes me think of St. Patrick's Day in Ireland. Yet colour can carry completely different meanings in different countries and cultures. For kings and queens and in ancient Rome, purple symbolises power and royalty. Yet in Thailand, traditionally widows wore this colour when mourning the death of their husbands. In East Asia, white is a colour for mourning, and it's bad luck. White is the absence of colour, and that is what it is to mourn. In Europe, white symbolises innocence, purity, and is worn as bridal gowns. But in Ireland, green is good luck, a symbol of pride, and the four-leaf clover. Yet in China, to wear a green hat carries an unlucky meaning. So colour is fun, colour is just plain gorgeous, a gourmet meal for the eye, a window to the soul. The interesting thing here is that we eat with our eyes first, not with our taste buds, but colour can increase or suppress our appetite. So the last way in which we relate to colour is psychologically. Psychologically is how it makes us feel, think, and behave. And for me, green makes me feel relaxed, safe, expansive, and adventurous. This particular photo was taken last week as I cycled from Scotland, Inverness to Glasgow off-road. It's an immersion in nature and an immersion in green. So a question here to think about: what is your favourite colour? And also, what is your least favourite colour and why? And if you can note that down, we'll come to that at the Q&A at the end. So as we talk about thinking, feeling and behaving, there are particular behavioural aspects of colour. For example, it's a mood, a feeling, which is surface level. A mood is a feeling which is surface level. But with a colour, we are looking at behaviours, and behaviours are measurable. Colour impacts our behaviour, and over time has the power to influence what we do, say, and how we act. Colours show up, behaviours show up in the language we use, our body language, our pitch of voice, our breathing, our topic of conversation, and how we interact with brands, the purchases we make, and the actions we take. For example, blue, from a behavioural aspect, is intellect. Blue triggers mental responses. Blue relates to the mind and affects us mentally. Light blue is mentally soothing, whereas dark blue is mentally stimulating. Red is physically stimulating. It triggers an impulse in the body. It can make us feel like time is passing quicker than it actually is. Red relates to the masculine, and it can activate our fight or flight instinct. Yellow is an emotional stimulus and triggers an emotional response. It affects our emotions and can have an impact on our nervous system, which makes it the strongest in psychological terms. And with green, we get balance. Balance between the physical of red, the intellect of blue, and the emotions of yellow. So green fundamentally does give us balance. But how are we communicating with colour, particularly from a brand perspective? So here we're going to look at indigo, blue, turquoise, green, yellow, orange, red, and magenta. And for those colours, I've specifically picked out or highlighted 2 brands that sit firmly within that colour range. So colour silently influences how consumers think and behave and interact with a brand and an environment. And we've already said that colour can change our mood, it can change our heart rate up and down, it can even make us feel hungry and make us feel flustered. We have the option to use colour to become more personalised and to elicit the behaviours we want to see. So with indigo, the 2 colours, the 2 brands that we've highlighted here are Liberty and Cadbury's. So from a theme here, purple really talks about or leans into spirituality, what's magical and mystical. But from a human standpoint, if we're tapping into our senses and how it can elicit emotion and influence our behaviours, I see lavender fields, I hear birds and bees, I touch amethyst, I smell lavender, and I taste grapes. From a positive behavioural point of view, purple is strength, it's power, it's a combination of red, which is energy for physical, and blue, which is truth and intellect. It's a higher self, it's spiritual, it's wisdom. Yet on a negative standpoint, it can be too introspective and navel-gazing. From an association point of view, culturally, I think of church gowns, I think of royalty, I think of wealth due to its origins. Purple as a colour, when it was initially discovered, was extremely hard to come by, hence its association with wealth and exclusivity. And perhaps that's why Cadbury's chose it as a colour, for affordable luxury. Arthur Lazenby with Liberties decided to open his store in London bearing his name. The store dealt with fabrics, ornaments and Japanese objects, things that were often hard to come by, again leaning into that exclusive wealth area. Liberty and arts fabrics helped shape the store's image in the 19th century, and Liberty colours were part of the Art Nouveau movement. Moving on to Cadbury's, in 1824, John Cadbury, a Quaker, began selling tea, coffee, and drinking chocolate in Bull Street in Birmingham. In 1831, he moved into the production of a variety of chocolate and drinking chocolates, and made a factory in Bridge Street and sold mainly to the wealthy because of the high cost of production. And again, is that a nod to the Cadbury's association with purple, making it affordable luxury? It's all about perception. Then we come on to blue. We have PayPal and Barclays. Blue, from a theme point of view, brings in calm, it's peaceful, it's contemplative. It's the five senses. You know, if we're bringing in our five senses of, again, our human behaviour, what do I see? I see the sky, I hear the wind, I touch Lolita, I smell geranium, and I taste blueberry. From a positive standpoint, blue is about logic, it's communication, it's trust and integrity. But from a negative standpoint, it can be seen as aloof, cold, and uncaring. From an association point of view, I think of the sky, the sea. Blue is the colour that is most likely to suppress my appetite, which is probably why you very rarely see blue in restaurants. They typically go for reds, which make us excitable and involved in an environment. And from the hospitality industry, you never see blue plasters in restaurants. We don't eat blue food, therefore blue plasters show up. And then PayPal, we look at the two brands that we have on screen. PayPal was developed and launched as a money transfer service in 1999, funded by John Malloy from Blue Run Ventures. At the launch, with the vision of everyone, everywhere, focused on simplicity, optimism, and trust, the goal was to make PayPal more accessible. The brand identity finds its power in the visual language that it holds. It's bold, it's open and direct, with the flexibility that welcomes new brand partnerships and collaborations. You can also notice there, they've got both the dark and the light blue that we touched on earlier. Barclays traces its origins back to 1690, when John Frame, a Quaker, and Thomas Gould started trading the Goldsmith bankers in Lombard Street in London. The name Barclays became associated with the business in 1736, when Frame's son-in-law, James Barclay, became a partner. Barclays' official brand colour is a distinctive cyan blue, often referred to as Barclays blue, which was introduced in the 1960s and made official in 1970, serving to create a unique, identifiable brand identity for decades, and it strongly lives on today. We move on to turquoise, and the two brands we have here are Tiffany's and Deliveroo. So the themes, they're clarifying. Turquoise is clarifying, it's harmonious, it's faithful. From a senses point of view, I see the sea, I hear waves, I touch blue topaz, I smell patchouli, I taste peppermint. And turquoise is a mix of the two colours, blue and green. Tiffany is a luxury brand. It's top end, but it's accessible to all. And it's arguably one of the world's most successful, iconic jewellery brands. It dates back to 1837. However, around 1845, the world famous jeweller chose a mix of bright green with a hint of blue as the official colour for his jewellery line and packaging. With time and Tiffany & Co.'s ever-emerging popularity, these little blue boxes became an icon, getting the name Tiffany Blue. Tiffany & Co. trademarked their signature blue colour in 1998. 3 years later, they partnered with Pantone to standardise the colour as 1837 blue, which is what obviously the company dates back, the year the company dates back to. So there's beautiful tie-ins in the narrative between the colour, the association, the brand, and the recognition that it's building. Deliveroo, on the other hand, was founded in February in 2013 in London by a man called Will and his childhood friend and co-founder Greg Olowski. Their motto is proper food, proper delivery, famously recognised for its teal blue, chosen to make the company stand out in the crowded food delivery market. The vibrant hue is used to communicate a modern and dynamic and trustworthy brand. So then we come on to green, and the two brands that I've highlighted here, the Whole Foods market and Starbucks. So as we've already touched on, green brings in balance, and so the themes, it won't surprise you to know, are stabilizing, regenerating, and it can often be considered restful. But from a senses point of view, what do you see? I see the forest, I hear leaves rustling, I touch peridot, which is a beautiful semi-precious stone, I smell sandalwood, and I taste salad leaves. You might taste something else. The human eye, or to the human eye, that is able to differentiate more shades of green than any other colour. In the whole spectrum of colours, there are more greens than any other colour, purely driven by nature. From a positive standpoint, from a psychological standpoint, green is balanced, it's restful, it's rejuvenating, and it's stabilizing. But from a negative standpoint, it can be considered boredom. It can bring on boredom. It can potentially show a lack of life, stagnation. If you think of a pool of stagnant water. So from that association point of view, it could be like moss or algae. But on the other sense, it could be a unique tie-in with biophilia and nature. So when we look at Whole Foods as a brand, the first Whole Foods stores opened its doors in Austin in September in 1980. Whole Foods value the importance of fun, family, and community involvement to encourage a rich and meaningful and balanced life. Their purpose is to nourish people and the planet. Green is a natural choice, pardon the pun, for this brand. Whole Foods market brand is deeply rooted in green. It's environmental and its quality-focused ethos, which is reflected in its colour choice for its logo. The Whole Foods green brand emphasises providing high-quality, natural and organic foods, promoting authenticity and helping consumers trust the ingredients they purchase. For Starbucks, the first was opened in Seattle in Washington on March the 31st, 1971. Fast forward to 1987, and you see Starbucks almost everywhere now globally. But in 1987, the Starbucks logo received a significant refresh. The new logo aimed to soothe customers' eyes by using the colour green, white and black, representing freshness, opportunity and growth. And then we come on to yellow, which the two brands here I've highlighted, the AA and the Tour de France. For yellow, the themes are, it's energetic, it's optimistic, it's positive. From the five senses, I see the sun, I hear energy, I touch citrine, I smell bergamot, which is a beautiful flower, I taste dandelion tea. For yellow, there are many positive attributes. It makes us think of sunshine, it brings us self-confidence, it makes us feel full of optimism, and it can make us feel full of positivity too. But from a negative standpoint, it can create irritation, anxiety, and depression. If you imagine a room drenched in yellow, ceiling, floors, chairs, tables, it would very quickly irritate and drive us mad. Yet from the AA, you have, which is a trusted brand since 1905, but with new tech and innovations changing the market, the AA was keen to reaffirm its position as a leading motor authority. And they worked with a global branding agency to create a bold, forward-facing identity, which keeps up with the ever-changing dreams of motorists and highlights the company's diverse range of offerings. But a key part of their brand refresh was always ahead, which was their brand repositioning. And it's I'm okay, it's okay, I'm with the AA marketing campaign. The AA have worked with Elwood to evolve their brand identity. And it really gives them an unshakable confidence now for the future of their products and services. Yellow is also highly visible on the road, and it also creates high standout and brand recognition for their brand. Then we come on to the Tour de France. In 1903, the Tour de France was the first cycling race set up and sponsored by the newspaper L'Auto, which is the ancestor of the current daily L'Équipe. The Tour de France used the yellow brand in the leader's jersey, fondly known now as the Maillot Jaune. Because the race's original newspaper, L'Auto, was printed on yellow paper, this was a tradition that began in 1919 to help identify the race leader more easily within the peloton. The colour was a natural and fitting choice to represent the newspaper's connection to the race. And from a marketing and brand standpoint, the yellow jersey has become a powerful marketing tool for both the race and the newspaper, creating an iconic symbol of the sport that continues to this day. For orange, now we have two brands that I've chosen, being Amazon and Sainsbury's. When you think of orange, the attributes, for me, it's really strongly linked to, well, generally it's really linked to extroverted and confident. It stimulates creativity, and as a colour, it's a very cheerful colour. From the senses point of view, it sparks in me a sunset. I hear joy, I touch amber, I smell ylang ylang, and I taste carrots. It's really important when you're thinking of colours as to how, how do we use our senses to imagine them and bring them to life. But orange is a mix of two psychological primaries, being red, the physical, and yellow, the emotion. So from a positive attribute, excuse me, orange is cheerful, it's playful, it's fun, it's warmth, it's stimulating, and it stimulates conversation. On the negative standpoint, it can appear frivolous. That, orange, an obvious association would be the fruit, an orange, a satsuma. But also from a cultural standpoint, it makes me think of monks' clothing, but also these two brands, Amazon and Sainsbury's. What's interesting about Amazon is it was first launched in 1995 as a website that only sold books, founded by Jeff Bezos, who had a vision for the company's explosive growth and e-commerce domination. He knew from the very beginning he wanted Amazon to be an everything store. If you look at the logo now, don't know whether you've noticed this before, but there's a smile and an arrow in its design. The smile symbolizes a happy customer. The arrow also is linked from the letters A to Z, which symbolizes Amazon has everything you might ever need or want from A to Z. Sainsbury's, the iconic orange colour was introduced in 1960 when the company transitioned from its original serif font to a more modern sans serif font. Orange is now considered a fundamental brand asset and is used predominantly, especially in the digital context. The use of this distinctive orange helps establish a clear and consistent brand identity across all of Sainsbury's operations, from their logo through to their in-store design. The warm, cheerful colour is intended to create a welcoming and inviting atmosphere to customers. And the colour also reflects its nectar card, which helps draw customers to the retailer. The next colour we're coming on to is red. And it won't surprise you, or maybe it will, but the two iconic logos for me are really Coca-Cola and Lego. So what does red tell us about? What does red evoke in us. It's passion, it's enthusiastic, and it's energetic. If I tap into my five senses, I see fire, I hear love, I touch red jasper, I smell patchouli, and I taste strawberries. Red represents the masculine, but from a positive standpoint, it's warmth, it's energy, it's passion, it's excitement, it's courage, and it's rebellion. But from a negative standpoint, red can be too much red can appear aggressive. It can be defiant. It can cause overwhelm and strain. Just as we talked about yellow, if you imagine a room drenched in red, red door, floor, walls, ceiling, everything, it would be overwhelming. But from association point of view, I think of traffic lights, it means stop. The telephone box, it's, from traditional, particularly in London, it stands out, just as the red postbox does, but also red lipstick. It can be perceived as sexy and feisty. But from a brand perspective, well, let's talk about Coca-Cola. And it is said that the Coca-Cola bottle is the most recognized object in the world. In 1886, John Pemberton, a druggist in Atlanta, Georgia, invented a new type of syrup using cocoa leaves, sugar, and cola nuts, plus a few other secret ingredients, which are keenly still held under lock and key. But the colour came from one of the company's first advertising features, and it featured Santa Claus. Also, the red colour comes from their early days, more than 130 years ago, and is now synonymous with the brand. Lego, on the other hand, has had many iterations, the last being in 1998. The consistent use of bright colours, yellow, red, but also black and white in the logo evokes feelings of fun, creativity, and limitless possibilities associated with building and playing with Lego bricks. The Lego's enduring design has become a powerful symbol of imagination and innovation. Lego has also reinvented itself, appealing to a wider market, boys, girls, all demographics, people of all ages, including Lego Serious Play for consultancy. I've used it with my clients in recent years, and has established numerous brand partnerships to build and create longevity. It's a brand that truly appeals to a wide audience. Then we move on to magenta. Excuse me, this is the last colour we're going to focus on here. And the two brands I've picked out are T-Mobile and Barbie. But pink, when we think of themes, is around love, tenderness, and compassion. Those are the things that we typically relate, particularly with a soft baby pink. But if we look at our senses, what do we think of? What comes to mind? What do we see when we see the colour pink? I see a rose. I hear compassion. I touch a rose quartz. I smell cinnamon, and I taste raspberries. And yes, when we look at these two brands, T-Mobile still exists as a major wireless carrier in the United States, but T-Mobile merged with Orange UK to create a joint venture called EE in 2010. But if you recall, those carriers had their distinctive colours. T-Mobile was pink, well, still is pink in the US. O2 is firmly blue, and Orange, well, it was orange. But one of the campaigns we touched on earlier was Barbie. And Barbie was created by Ruth Handler. If you don't know, she was an inventor, a wife, and a mother. It was this mix that sparked Ruth's vision to create a 3D doll for girls to play out their dreams. Then in 1959, the first Barbie doll, named after Ruth's daughter, made its debut at a New York toy fair. When we think of the colour pink, Pantone 219C and Barbie has become so strong that in the promotion of the Barbie movie, all pink billboards were produced in this shade and were placed around town advertising the Barbie movie. The only writing on these billboards was July 21, the date the movie would be released in theatres. Consumers knew the billboards referred to the Barbie movie, thanks to this diligent use of colour and the popularity of the Barbie brand that had been created over decades. Consumers now associate the specific shade of pink with Barbie, and Mattel has successfully earned trademark protection of Pantone 219C shade of pink without trademark registration. If we think about the UK, London went bonkers for Barbie, as the London Eye, Trafalgar Square, the Oxo Tower, and the W Hotel all lit up in solidarity with the film premiere. The movie had over 100 brand partnerships and is demonstrating its brand equity, value, strength, reach, and recognition. So as we come to the close, I just wanted to share this one quote before I kind of opened the Q&A. Is that, you know, this is a quote from Maya Angelou. Is I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I want to bring this back, is the colour is an emotion, colour is a language, and colour is a science and technology that we have the ability to tap into. So colour, as we've just said, you know, to summarise, colour is a language. It is an emotion. Colour is literally energy in motion. It is waves that come and meet our eyes. We can create behaviour change with colour. I'd also invite you to think of colour beyond aesthetics. It can support intuitive navigation. If you think of your UX on site with your products, with your services, it can also encourage inclusion, provoke rhythm, and create a narrative. And always brands need a strong narrative to bring into the equation. When we apply colour with psychological insight to support how people feel, behave, and act and interact with your brand, you will always get a stronger result and a measurable one. We can embrace colour to stand out, connect, and communicate. And the parting quote, or the parting stat I really would like you to revisit and think about, is that up to 90% of decisions are based on colour alone. Can you hear me, Lucy?
Yep. Yep.
So if we want to move on to the Q&A, just would be interesting to hear people's responses to the questions shared earlier. Yep. And also if anyone's got any questions for me about their brand.
Doesn't seem to be any questions at the moment.
Okay.
Oh,
So for those,
we have one question.
Yeah.
From Julie. I wear a lot of grey, but I don't actually love it. Pink makes me happy. How can we blend colours to maximum impact?
So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that grey makes people feel or have a slight disconnect with grey. I think it's a colour that we've been taught or shown to like and engage with. And the colour pink, I think, will have various different associations with different people, but typically it will always spark compassion, particularly when it's baby pink and not a cerise or a sort of magenta pink, which is more the higher saturation point. But when you come to blending colours, it's always interesting to think of colours in combination and not in isolation, because we always see colours together. If you think of McDonald's as an example, McDonald's as a brand has combined typically the yellow and red. Yellow to excite and get people in, and also the red to excite and bring people in, and yellow to spark that emotion. But also they're creating something fun, they're creating something standout, and also the way they combined the feelings and emotions of those colours also leads into how they've structured their stores and their brand. The environment is set up to get people in quickly, but to also, it's a fast food place, so they're not wanting people to dwell, they want people to move quickly through that space.
Okay, thank you for that. We've also got another question. How would you describe beige?
Oh, how would I describe beige? I would describe beige as when people don't know what they want. It's safe, it's boring, it's it's safe. I think people, it's a bit like magnolia when you think of the color that people used to paint their houses years ago, or they don't know what they want to buy if they're buying clothes, for example. But I think beige is safe. Beige is when you don't really know what to do and you don't really understand how you can use color in a way that will light you up as an individual, or from a brand and marketing standpoint, how it will light up and engage your audience, and also create standout, particularly in a, in a different market.
And then they said, why are men so scared of wearing colour?
Oh, why are men so scared of wearing colour? That's an interesting one. I think I think it actually stems from different cultures, because actually in England, probably typical, specifically in London, people are, if you look back at the 80s, the uniform was the grey or the black suit. And again, that kind of links into the battleships, blend in, become part of a crowd, don't stand out. But I think you've got artists, maybe it's people that are more creative, that are more artistic, that will lean into the language and the science and the technology of color to stand out. Why do they not wear it? Afraid to, don't know how they relate to it, because there's a disconnect between their conscious and unconscious mind. And yeah, they don't have the awareness of what color can bring to their lives, or them as an individual, how it can make them feel, and then again elicit different behaviors.
Okay. Well, I think that's it for now, all the questions. Thank you, Emma, for doing this. It's so interesting learning about how color affects everyone emotionally. Yeah, I'll be sending everyone a follow-up email with the recording of this session and Emma's slides. Emma, is there anything else you want to add before we finish?
No, that's it. There's a slide in the deck. I would love to be able to connect with you all, but thank you very much for your time today, and I hope you found that interesting and insightful.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.